This is a clear-cut case of union busting, and I will be talking to the press, and I will hope that they will reinstate me. I've been speaking out about how I think we should increase the fund for interns for a while now.
Demanding almost $70,000 a year as an intern. Points for audacity, I guess. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going to tackle a really hilarious story that I saw trending over the weekend. And not the biggest news in the world, but just purely entertaining, at least to me. Y'all will have to let me know if you find it entertaining or not in the comments, but I found it hilarious. So here's the headline from the New York Times. These unpaid interns want $32 an hour and health insurance. Then it shows two of them posed, very sternly looking. We're about to enter the very wild world of audacious interns who actually, in the New York City municipal government, signed up for unpaid internships and then went through a series of escalating demands and protests, demanding not just some form of payment, but $32 an hour, which annualized comes out to about $65,000 of a salary and health insurance benefits, all for the internship they signed up for that wasn't paid. It's actually remarkable stuff. So here's from the article. Mina Faramand was tired of not getting paid while working 15 hours a week. So Mrs. Faramand, who was a legislative intern for a city councilman in New York, joined a fledgling campaign for change. She and other young workers set their sights on $32 an hour and health coverage. But less than 48 hours after the group took their drive public, delivering a petition and posting on social media, she received startling news. A supervisor told her to pack up her belongings at the day's end. She called it retaliation for her organizing activity. The councilman's office denied those claims. So there's more details here that help explain this story. And spoiler alert, the details don't help this young woman and her complaints and her case. They actually don't help her at all. But I just want to think about this for a second. So you, as a young 20-something, what have you, see and apply for an unpaid internship in a council member's office. And I actually am not a fan of unpaid internships. They don't make a ton of sense to me, how like they're exempt from minimum wage laws. I've always thought that to be strange, that it's legal for you to work for me for $0, but not for $5 an hour. It's never made a ton of sense to me. I personally probably would never have done an unpaid internship, but it's a free country, and if people think it's worth it for them and they choose to do it, okay, I guess. I'm not a huge fan of the practice, but it is what it is. What I find diabolical, even audacious to the point of being despicable, but iconic, but despicable, is to sign up for an unpaid internship. Like, it's not as if it's a surprise, right? You apply for an internship, it lists whether it's paid or not, and it's unpaid, and then you decide to start, once you have the job, protesting and demanding to be paid. It's like, why didn't you just go after a paid internship then? There are paid internships, even in municipal government in New York, and you didn't apply for those or didn't get those. It's just crazy to sign up for an unpaid internship and then be like, how dare you not pay me? It's in the name. I know that the young people are struggling with literacy these days, but I didn't think unpaid was like a confusing vocabulary word. But I guess that's where we're at. And so once she threw this fit, she then got fired and immediately cried retaliation and actually compared herself to some sort of like union organizing, the Gen Z Rosa Parks of our time or something, really. So let's watch her video explaining how outraged she is about being fired.
Hey guys, this is Mina. I just want to share with you guys that I was just fired for union organizing at City Council, at Councilmember Epstein's office. I posted that video yesterday about my advocacy for interns, and then today they said that they're going to have to let me go. This is a clear-cut case of union busting, and I will be talking to the press, and I will hope that they will reinstate me, as is my right. It's just a very clear case of union busting, and it's not fair. I've been speaking out about how I think we should increase the fund for interns for a while now. Um, and I don't think that that's any reason that someone should get fired for standing up for themselves and their colleagues and their rights. So that's kind of what's up. You can see the video that was posted last night on this account. I really can't make this up, guys. Wish me luck. I'll be talking to the press and others, so.
I love this. She's like, you really can't make this up. It's so crazy how they're treating me like this. I just can't believe it. No, literally no one agrees with you. Not a single well, I can't say that because there's a lot of delusional bitches out there in this world in 2026. But most sane people who discover this or see the headlines about this, not a single one of them is like, oh, that poor girl. Because there's so many levels to this. One, it's like you signed up for an unpaid internship. So, okay, you made your bed, now lie in it. You don't get paid. That's it. It's in the name. But two, you then demanded such a ridiculous amount of money, like $32 an hour, annualized $65,000 equivalent if it was a full-time employee, and health insurance, by the way, is crazy. You're not even asking for minimum wage. You're saying that you should get $32 an hour. That's a lot of money, and it's certainly not whatever paperwork, busy work, entry-level internship you're doing in a city councilman's office is. That is probably, actually, close to or more than a lot of the full-time staff in that office get paid. At least like in Congress, for example, there are congressional staffers, full-time adults with degrees who earn less than that amount annualized. And yet you have the audacity to demand this and then act like you're literally Rosa Parks. And she keeps saying it's union busting. Am I just missing the part where there's a union or any sort of organized labor? And would even, I know unions and union activists can make some pretty outrageous demands, but would even they argue that if you sign up for an unpaid internship, you are then entitled to be paid? I don't know. That would seem to strain credulity even for them and some of their unreasonable demands. But it's also she's mischaracterizing this. Shocker. She's not being entirely honest with what happened here. No way. What a surprise. When I looked into the details, not only did they ask for payment, they sent a petition to New York City Council's Speaker, Julie Menin, and then they showed up at an event to confront her aggressively. I don't know about you, but in any employment situation ever, the freaking intern showing up to confront the CEO and yell at them and demand money is probably going to end with that intern being fired and they're not somehow a victim. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a heartless bastard. I'm just not sympathetic to the kids these days enough. And then the funniest thing is she insists she was fired because of this organizing. They actually say that that's not the case. So here's from the New York Times story about this. The intern and the councilman for whom she worked, Harvey Epstein, well, pause on that just for a second. Very unfortunate name. But of course, there's no relation or tie to any of that. Anyway, back to the story here. The intern and the councilman for whom she worked, Harvey Epstein, offered conflicting accounts. Mrs. Faramond said she was an efficient worker who was never reprimanded. Mr. Epstein said that the deputy who dismissed her related that it was prompted by performance concerns, such as not completing tasks in a timely manner. Quote, "What my team has said, it's just factually different," Mr. Epstein, a Manhattan Democrat who chairs the Consumer and Worker Protection Committee, said in an interview. "I have to trust my staff." So she's claiming that she was fired because of her union organizing or her demanding. And to be fair to her, with some of these like ultra pro-labor Democrats, it actually would be hypocritical for them to fire even unreasonable and unruly employees because they advocate for those kinds of employee rights in the workplace. So it would be hypocritical, but they're saying that's not even what happened here. They're saying that she was fired for poor performance as an unpaid intern. Yet she wants $32. I'm still not over that. I'm still not over the $32 and the audacity of it. Because if she was fighting for like the minimum wage, okay, I would be like, I would still not support her because you signed up for the unpaid internship. So what do you expect? But at least I wouldn't be like, oh, she's insane. $32 an hour. Wow. But regardless, they're actually saying she wasn't fired for that. She was fired for performance concerns. And obviously we don't know the truth. Like, we weren't there. But I know, like, which of these two parties seems more credible to you? The staffers in the councilman's office, or this crazy chick who's crashing out on social media, acting like she's the Harriet Tubman of our time, leading the resistance to free the unpaid interns, and then actually, and she's almost so crazy that it's camp. Like, she's actually kind of iconic. She organized a literal in-person protest to demand payment for the unpaid interns. And it's like, girl, maybe if you put 1/10 of this energy into doing your job, you wouldn't have been fired. But I think she wanted to be fired. I think she wanted to go viral. I think she wanted to do her big one like this. And she's gotten what she ordered on that front. But I just think this is a fascinating case study into, like, entitlement on steroids, really, because how entitled do you have to be to demand the equivalent of, like, in a very significant annual salary for your unpaid internship? And then it is interesting to see sometimes these political movements be devoured from the inside, right? Be consumed by their own inner demons, because they empower these kinds of delusional activist types. They empower these kinds of, like, labor rights organizers, and then they're shocked when those things come back to bite them. And another layer to this as well is, it's like, if you wanted a $32 an hour internship, maybe you should have applied in, like, corporate America or something. But honestly, you probably wouldn't even get that for a for-profit place, because that's the other thing about internships, is they're often kind of doing you a favor by having you, because in many cases, not in all cases, like, I did some internships where I was paid and I actually was pulling my weight and then some, and probably worth more than I was getting paid. But regardless, I was not victimized by that voluntary agreement that I signed up for. But in a lot of internships, and this is, I think, even though I don't love the concept, I kind of doubt the concept, and I find it hypocritical in some ways. In some internships, it sounds cringe to say, like, the experience is the payment, but it's literally, like, costs the company money to have you, right? They spend more time and resources, like, showing you around and training you how to do something than you're actually providing in benefit. So that's why it would be not profitable for them to pay you. Now, in this case, it's a government internship, so she's just demanding the taxpayer money. And they have usually no shortage of desire to hand out our money to their random left-wing Gen Z interns, because there are other interns in the mayor's office, or not mayor's, the city council office, who are paid handsomely. And it's like, girl, you could have applied for one of those, but you specifically signed up for this. And I guess the lesson of this story is that at the end of the day, you gotta be audacious, and you gotta be your own biggest fan and supporter in this life to to know your worth and to stick up for yourself. But there also does come a point past which doing that makes you just delusional. And I fear our friend here may have long since crossed that point. But yet she's getting, like, very sympathetic media profiles rather than. So it's just interesting because, like, conservative media outlets are, like, dunking on this girl, and I agree more with them on this particular issue. But then that New York Times article, they sent out a photographer to do this, like, dramatic pose, and they're framing these young women as if they're, like, standing up for what's right, when in reality they're delusional and entitled. But that's an interesting angle to this as well. The whole story, I just love it. I think it's absolutely insane, but kind of camp and iconic, but unhinged at the same time. So sounds about right for something I would cover. Anyway, though, you guys have to let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet. Do hit the like button. Comment with your thoughts on the whole unpaid internship dilemma and debate, by the way. And do consider becoming a channel member to support my work. YouTube views are down, especially for political creators and folks like myself who kind of call balls and strikes and aren't, a Team Blue or Team Red partisan. So the best way to support independent content creators is through things like channel memberships. I'll be doing some videos reacting to channel member comments and questions on this channel. So do hit the join button and then drop your comments or questions for me below. And regardless, guys, thanks for tuning in, and watch out for the unpaid interns out there, because their audacity is growing. We'll be back with more real soon.